mynews.studio.
Children who never heard their parents' voices are now hearing them for the very first time. With that kind of progress in gene therapy, what comes next?
It's January 1st, 2026. Let's go back to that moment in 2025 when the world stopped to watch. Restoring hearing in children born deaf. 10 children with OTOF gene mutations received a single gene therapy injection. What happened after that?
They went from only perceiving sound at 106 decibels, that's the volume of a jet engine, down to 52 decibels, basically the level of normal conversation. That's a big change, but it's more than just numbers. For the first time, these kids could hear things like music or laughter. The whole world opened up for them. Have we seen a therapy act this quickly before?
Not at this scale. And the delivery method itself, a synthetic virus carrying a working gene directly into the inner ear, has potential for other mutations too, like GJB2 or TMC1. Could this mean that for some types of genetic deafness, cochlear implants might become less necessary?
That's exactly the implication. If we can address genetic deafness at its source, it raises a broader question. What other conditions we've called untreatable might be next? Which leads us to another milestone from last year, the personalized CRISPR therapy at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
You mean the case of KJ, born with CPS1 deficiency, a severe metabolic disorder where most infants don't survive. Here, a team used personalized gene editing to correct his mutation in liver cells and then reinfused those cells. And the timeline, diagnosis to treatment in just 6 months. That's fast.
And the results showed it worked. KJ could tolerate more protein, needed fewer medications, and most importantly, survived infections that used to be life-threatening. The technology isn't limited to this one case. Researchers think it could be adapted for other rare diseases. Are we seeing the start of truly personalized medicine here?
If that's the case, the approach could be scaled up, at least for rare diseases where time and precision are critical. But what about brain disorders? Take Canavan disease, once considered a certain death sentence for children. Last year, that changed too.
Paula Leone's group used gene therapy, Meyer 101, to restore myelin in children's brains. Early trials didn't just show safety, but actual improvement in brain development. Some children even reached motor milestones that were thought out of reach. But this only happened after a Brooklyn family raised $1.5 million in just weeks. What does that say about the role of families in moving science forward?
It shows that every clinical trial has a community behind it, pushing the work ahead. Leone's team is now exploring whether these approaches might help with conditions like multiple sclerosis or frontotemporal dementia. If gene therapy can repair white matter, how far can it go?
The frontiers are broadening. At the University of Florida, researchers are working on new delivery platforms, extracellular vesicles, that can carry larger genetic payloads with fewer side effects. University of Miami found that some genetic hearing loss could be treated with simple supplements. And in Indiana, a common diuretic, Lasix, might prevent hearing loss before it starts. Is gene therapy starting to move beyond rare diseases?
That's how it looks. UCLA had a major advance too, restoring immune function in children with ADA-SCID using gene therapy. 95% success rate, no serious complications, and the largest follow-up study so far. In Manchester, a child named Ollie recovered after a single gene therapy and stem cell transplant. There's a pattern here. Targeted, one-time treatments are changing lifelong diseases.
But we need to talk about the hard part, accessibility. Right now, these breakthroughs mostly come from wealthier countries and well-funded hospitals. For children in low-income settings, these therapies are still out of reach. Isn't equity the biggest challenge now?
It is. The costs, insurance hurdles, and logistics haven't been solved. A child in sub-Saharan Africa or rural India is unlikely to have access. The science is there, but the systems aren't, at least not yet. And then there's the matter of risk and ethics.
Gene editing, especially with CRISPR, brings new uncertainties. The early signs are good, but we don't know about the long-term effects. KJ, for example, will be followed for life. Could gene-edited cells act up years later? And how do we prevent a future where only those who can afford it benefit from these advances?
And what about editing genes in a way that those changes are inherited by future generations? That's still hotly debated. Even when there's a breakthrough, it can take years for a therapy to become standard care. Approvals, insurance, scaling up, all of it takes time.
The pace is changing, but we're still talking years, not months. Leone expects Canavan therapy could get FDA approval in 2026, but wide access will lag behind. Are we prepared for the ethical and practical debates that are coming?
This matters now because, for centuries, genetic diseases were considered life sentences. In 2025, that changed. Researchers targeted the root causes instead of just treating symptoms. Would you call this a turning point in medicine?
I would. Different teams, different diseases, but the outcome is the same. Cures where none existed before. This could reshape healthcare. Fewer chronic illnesses, new pharma models, and hard choices about who gets treated first.
And behind every breakthrough, there are families, parents who wouldn't accept incurable, scientists who kept pushing after setbacks. The Brooklyn mother, KJ's parents, Ollie's family, their persistence made a difference.
As 2026 begins, gene therapy is moving beyond the experimental. The big question now is, how do we make it safe, fair, and available to everyone? These first children show what's possible, but what comes next will really test us.
So what happens when a medical revolution finally arrives? That's the question we'll be exploring.
Thanks for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. You can try it for free.